My friend, let me tell you something powerful today. Everyone wants to speak English fluently, but many are secretly afraid. They feel shy, they worry about making mistakes, they think people will laugh at their accent. And because of that fear, they stop themselves before they even start. But here's the hidden secret. Fluency doesn't begin with grammar, vocabulary, or even practice. It begins with confidence. Think about it. Children learn their mother tongue not because they study books, but because they are not afraid to speak. They don't care if they say it wrong, they just keep trying again and again until it becomes natural. That's the secret you need to unlock. Stop being afraid of mistakes because every mistake you make is proof that you are learning, proof that you are growing. Fluency is not about speaking perfect English, it's about speaking without fear. It's about daring to open your mouth and express yourself no matter what. The world doesn't laugh at those who try. The world respects those who keep moving forward despite their imperfections. So from today, promise yourself this. You will speak, even if your words are broken. You will speak, even if your grammar is not correct. You will speak, even if your accent is heavy. Because fluency is not given, it is built. And you are the builder of your own success. The hidden secret is simple but life-changing. Confidence first, fluency next. Believe in yourself, speak without fear, and soon the language that once felt impossible will flow from your tongue like it has always belonged to you. The secret is already inside you. You just have to set it free. Many people believe that speaking English fluently comes only when you master grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. They think fluency is something that arrives at the very end of learning, as if it's a reward for years of studying and memorizing rules. But here's the truth. Fluency doesn't start with perfect knowledge of the language. It starts with confidence. Before you can speak smoothly, before you can hold a conversation without hesitation, you need to believe that you can. Confidence is the foundation on which fluency is built. Without it, no matter how much you study, your voice will remain locked inside, and your words will never flow. Think about how many times you've stayed silent even though you knew the answer. How often you've avoided speaking because you were scared someone might correct you. How many opportunities slipped away just because you lacked the courage to open your mouth. That silence has nothing to do with your knowledge of English. It has everything to do with your level of confidence. When you understand that confidence comes first, everything changes. Imagine two learners. One knows thousands of English words but never dares to speak. The other knows only a handful but uses them without fear. Who do you think will improve faster? The second one. Because by speaking, by practicing, by trying again and again, they build fluency naturally. The one who stays quiet may have more knowledge in their head, but without expressing it, that knowledge remains trapped. Confidence is the bridge that takes what you know in your mind and brings it into the world through your voice. Every time you choose to speak, even with mistakes, you strengthen that bridge, and soon it becomes strong enough to carry any thought you want to share. Confidence is also about breaking free from the fear of judgment. One of the biggest reasons people hesitate to speak English is the thought, what if others laugh at me? This fear is powerful enough to stop even the most talented learners from opening their mouths. But here's the reality. Most people are not focused on your mistakes. They are focused on your message. They want to understand what you're trying to say, not count how many times you used the wrong tense. And even if someone does laugh or correct you, remember that it doesn't reduce your worth. It simply means you are learning. Every expert you admire today once stood exactly where you are, making mistakes, getting corrected, and still choosing to speak. The difference between them and the ones who gave up is not knowledge, it's confidence. They were willing to look imperfect while they were still learning. Another important thing to understand is that confidence grows with action. You don't wait for confidence to magically appear. You create it by doing. The first time you speak, your voice may shake. The second time, you may forget words. The third time, you may mix up sentences. But with each attempt, you become a little stronger, a little braver, a little more fluent. If you sit silently, waiting for the day you'll feel ready, that day will never come. Confidence is built in the middle of the struggle, not at the end of it. And the more you practice speaking, the faster you will discover that fluency isn't some distant goal. It's a skill that grows every time you dare to use the language. Confidence before fluency also means shifting your focus from perfection to progress. Many learners make the mistake of thinking, I'll start speaking once I stop making mistakes. But that mindset creates a trap because the only way to reduce mistakes is by speaking. It's like waiting to learn swimming before touching the water. You'll never succeed. The truth is, you will make mistakes, you will mispronounce words, you will forget grammar, but that's part of the journey. Confidence allows you to accept these mistakes without shame and keep moving forward. It transforms every error into a lesson and every attempt into growth. And perhaps the most powerful part of confidence is how it changes the way others see you. People are naturally drawn to those who speak with conviction. Even if your grammar is broken, even if your vocabulary is limited, if you speak with confidence, people will listen. They will respect your courage, they will admire your effort, and they will respond positively. On the other hand, if you speak softly, hesitantly, as if you are apologizing for every word, people will doubt your ability, even if your English is technically correct. Confidence gives weight to your words. It makes people believe in you, and it gives you the strength to keep going even when the journey feels difficult. Confidence comes before fluency because it's the fuel that drives your progress. Without it, knowledge stays silent. With it, knowledge becomes power. It is the invisible ingredient that turns hesitant learners into powerful speakers, and it is the one thing you cannot replace with books, apps, or courses. So many learners fear mistakes as if they are signs of failure. They hesitate to speak, they hold back their thoughts, and they keep quiet in conversations because they don't want to sound wrong. But the truth is, mistakes are not failures at all. They are proof of learning, proof that you are moving forward. Every time you make a mistake, it shows that you dared to try. It shows that you stepped out of your comfort zone and attempted something new. Without mistakes, there is no progress, because mistakes are the stepping stones that guide you toward fluency. If you look back at anything you have ever mastered in life, whether it was walking, writing, or even riding a bicycle, you will realize that mistakes were part of every stage. You fell, you stumbled, you got corrected, but you kept going, and that is exactly why you succeeded. Learning English is no different. Think about a child learning to speak their first words. They don't pronounce everything perfectly at once. Their sentences are broken, their grammar is completely wrong, and their vocabulary is tiny. Yet everyone claps for them, encourages them, and smiles at their effort. Nobody laughs at a child for saying a word incorrectly, because everyone knows mistakes are part of the process. But when we grow older, we forget this truth. We start to think that mistakes are embarrassing, that they make us look weak, that they expose us, and that mindset stops us from learning. The only difference between a child who eventually becomes fluent and an adult who stays stuck is that the child doesn't fear mistakes. They embrace them naturally, and that's why they improve so quickly. Every mistake you make in English is a mirror showing you exactly where you need to improve. If you said the wrong word, now you know the right one. If you use the wrong tense, now you've identified an area to practice. If someone corrected your pronunciation, now you can adjust it for next time. Without mistakes, you would never know these things. They act like a teacher, pointing out your weaknesses and guiding you step by step toward strength. The mistake itself is not the problem. The real problem is when you let that mistake silence you. If you stop speaking after a mistake, you shut down the learning process. But if you keep speaking despite mistakes, you accelerate your progress. Some of the most successful people in the world became masters in their field, not because they avoided mistakes, but because they made more of them than anyone else. They practiced, failed, corrected, and tried again until they improved. The same is true for language learning. The person who makes the most mistakes in speaking English is often the one who improves the fastest because they are actively using the language. Meanwhile, the person who stays silent may avoid embarrassment, but they also avoid growth. The courage to make mistakes is what separates those who only dream of fluency from those who actually achieve it. Another powerful way to see mistakes is as evidence of courage. Do you know how many people remain silent their entire lives because they don't want to look foolish? But you, when you make a mistake, you prove that you dared to speak. You dared to try something difficult. That takes bravery, and bravery is the heart of progress. Instead of feeling embarrassed, remind yourself, this mistake is proof that I am growing. If you can change the way you look at mistakes, they will stop being your enemy and become your strongest ally. And here's something important. Native speakers themselves make mistakes all the time. They mispronounce words, they use slang incorrectly, they forget grammar rules, and they even create new words that aren't in dictionaries. Yet nobody tells them they don't know their own language. Why? Because mistakes are normal, even for experts. If native speakers can make mistakes in their own language and still communicate effectively, why should you, as a learner, feel ashamed of making mistakes while learning? You are doing something extraordinary, speaking in a language that is not even your first. That alone is something to be proud of. What truly matters in communication is not perfection, but connection. If you say something in broken English, but the listener understands you, then you succeeded. The purpose of language is to express ideas, to connect with others, to share feelings and thoughts. Mistakes may appear along the way, but they don't erase the meaning of what you said. They don't erase your effort. They don't erase your courage. Every mistake you make while speaking English is another brick in the foundation of your fluency. And the more mistakes you make, the stronger that foundation becomes. So, instead of hiding from mistakes, start chasing them. Speak as much as you can, try as many conversations as possible, push yourself into situations where you know you'll make errors, because those errors are your teachers. They are guiding you, shaping you, and bringing you closer to the confident, fluent version of yourself. The person who fears mistakes will stay stuck forever, but the person who embraces mistakes will keep climbing until fluency is no longer a dream, but a reality. If you want to understand the real secret of learning English or any language, just look at how children learn to speak. They don't sit down with grammar books, they don't memorize long vocabulary lists, they don't study complicated rules. They simply listen, observe, and try. They speak broken sentences, they mix up words, they use the wrong grammar, and yet they never stop. What makes them powerful learners is not their intelligence, but their courage. They are not afraid of being wrong. They don't carry the fear of being judged. They don't hold back because of embarrassment. And that is why children learn languages so fast. They dare to try without worrying about mistakes, while adults often spend years waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. When a child first says a word, it may not even sound correct. For example, they may say wawa instead of water, or goed instead of went. But nobody tells them to stop speaking. Nobody says, "You're wrong, don't try again." Instead, people laugh, encourage them, and gently correct them. Over time, through this cycle of trying, making mistakes, and receiving feedback, their speech becomes clear and fluent. It is not because they learned the rules first, but because they practiced without fear. If adults adopted the same mindset, learning English would become much easier and faster. The biggest difference between children and adults is not the ability to learn, but the willingness to fail publicly. Adults often think, what will people say if I speak wrongly? What if they laugh at me? What if they don't understand me? These thoughts create hesitation, and hesitation kills progress. A child, on the other hand, doesn't care if their words are funny. They just speak, and through speaking, they improve. That is the lesson you need to remember. Fluency comes from trying, not from fearing. Fear is the barrier that stops most learners. You may already know enough English to hold a simple conversation, but fear tells you, wait until you are better. Fear whispers, don't speak, you'll embarrass yourself. And so, even though you have the ability, you stay silent. Imagine if a child thought the same way. Imagine if a child waited until they knew perfect grammar before speaking. They would never learn to talk. Their language would remain trapped inside forever. But because children don't think like that, they end up learning faster than most adults. There is a powerful lesson here. The faster you let go of fear, the faster you learn. Fear adds weight to your words, makes your tongue heavy, and blocks your mind. But when you remove fear, your words begin to flow more naturally, even if they are not perfect. This is why so many people who live abroad pick up English quickly. It's not because they suddenly became smarter, but because they were forced to try, forced to use the language daily, forced to push past fear. And as they tried, just like children, they got better and better. Children also remind us that learning is not about pride, it's about curiosity. They are curious about everything. They don't feel ashamed to ask questions, even if the questions sound simple. They repeat words again and again, sometimes hundreds of times, without caring if they are wrong. This curiosity fuels their growth. Adults often lose that spark because they think asking questions makes them look foolish. But in reality, asking questions and repeating what you learn is the only way to master a language. The more you act like a curious child, the faster your English will improve. Another powerful thing about children is that they learn through play, not pressure. They don't force themselves to memorize, they enjoy the process, they sing, they listen, they copy sounds, they laugh at their own mistakes, and they keep going. That playful spirit makes learning natural instead of stressful. Adults, however, often turn learning into a heavy burden. They measure themselves against others, criticize their own mistakes, and create anxiety around every conversation. If instead they could enjoy the process, laugh at their errors, and see learning as an adventure, they would find fluency much sooner. Children prove that you don't need perfection to be understood. Even with limited words and broken grammar, they communicate what they want. Their parents and friends still understand them because communication is not about perfect sentences. It's about expressing meaning. The same is true for you. Even if your English is not perfect, people can still understand you. And the more you try, the more your communication improves. But if you let fear stop you, if you refuse to speak until everything is flawless, you'll never give yourself the chance to grow. So the hidden lesson is simple but powerful. Learn like a child. Be brave enough to try without fear. Speak even if your words are broken. Ask questions without worrying about judgment. Repeat without shame. Laugh at your mistakes instead of hiding from them. Keep moving forward with curiosity and courage. That is how children learn, and that is how you can learn too. One of the biggest myths about learning English is that fluency means speaking with perfect grammar. So many learners believe they cannot call themselves fluent until they use every tense correctly, until they stop mixing up prepositions, until they never make a single mistake. This belief keeps countless people silent, waiting for the day they will somehow master the rules perfectly. But the truth is, fluency is not perfect grammar. Fluency is the ability to express yourself freely, to communicate your thoughts without hesitation, to make others understand you even if your sentences are not perfect. If you focus too much on grammar, you will trap yourself in constant self-correction, pausing after every word, thinking so much about rules that your natural flow disappears. Real fluency is about speaking with confidence, clarity, and continuity, not about being flawless. Think about the people you admire who speak English well. Do they speak without mistakes? Not always. Even highly educated people, even native speakers, make grammar mistakes while talking. They might mix up tenses, forget a plural, or start a sentence one way and end it another. But do we stop listening to them because of that? No. We keep listening because their message is strong and their flow is natural. That's the difference between fluency and perfection. Fluency connects people. Perfection is only a rule on paper. If you make fluency your goal instead of perfection, you will start speaking more, you will gain confidence, and you will improve far faster than if you wait for a day when you never make mistakes. The danger of chasing perfect grammar is that it kills your courage to speak. Imagine you are in a conversation, and instead of focusing on the message, your mind is racing with thoughts like, should I use past perfect here? Did I put the article correctly? What if my sentence sounds wrong? By the time you find the perfect structure, the moment has already passed. Fluency is not about pausing forever to search for correctness. It's about keeping the flow alive. People will forgive small errors if you keep talking, but they won't forgive silence. The goal is not to impress with perfect grammar. The goal is to connect with your words. Also, think about why you are learning English in the first place. Is it to pass a grammar exam, or is it to communicate with people, to express your ideas, to build opportunities for your life? In real conversations, nobody is grading your grammar. People care about whether they understood you, whether your message was clear, whether your words carried confidence. If you speak with hesitation but perfect grammar, you may not be remembered. But if you speak with passion, clarity, and flow, even with mistakes, you will make a lasting impression. Fluency touches hearts, while perfection only satisfies rules. Another important thing to remember is that grammar is not useless. It's helpful, but it should never stop you from speaking. You can improve your grammar as you go, through practice, correction, and exposure. But fluency cannot wait until grammar is perfect because that day may never come. English has so many rules, exceptions, and patterns that even native speakers sometimes struggle. If you try to learn every rule before speaking, you'll end up studying your whole life without ever using the language. Instead, speak now with the grammar you have. Each conversation will teach you something new, and over time, your accuracy will improve naturally. Fluency comes from practice, not from memorizing endless rules in silence. Consider this. A tourist goes to another country and tries to communicate with locals. Their grammar may be completely broken, but they use gestures, simple words, and courage. The locals usually smile, understand, and even appreciate the effort. Why? Because communication is about the message, not the grammar. That tourist is practicing fluency even without accuracy, and by doing so, they are learning. On the other hand, someone who studied grammar for years but refuses to speak because they fear being wrong will never experience that growth. Which path do you want to take? The one filled with silent rules or the one filled with real conversations? Fluency is also about rhythm. When you listen to a native speaker, notice how they sometimes break grammar rules in casual speech. They say things like gonna instead of going to, or ain't instead of is not. Strictly speaking, these are not correct grammar, yet they are perfectly fluent because they flow naturally in communication. If fluency depended only on correctness, these expressions would not exist. But language is alive, it bends, it evolves, and it serves the purpose of connection. You too must allow yourself to flow with the language instead of freezing under the weight of rules. The mindset shift you need is this: don't wait to speak until your grammar is perfect. Speak now, use what you know, and build fluency step by step. Perfection will come later, but fluency is something you must practice daily. If you speak with courage, people will understand you, and if they understand you, then you are already successful. Grammar is the polish, but fluency is the voice, and your voice deserves to be heard, not when it's perfect, but now as it grows and becomes stronger every single day. Respect is something every learner desires, but often misunderstands. Many people believe that respect comes only when you speak perfect English, when you never make a mistake, when your grammar is flawless and your accent sounds native. They think people will laugh at them if they try and fail. But the truth is far from this. Respect doesn't come from perfection. Respect comes from effort. The world doesn't admire those who hide in silence. It admires those who dare to step forward and try, even if your English is broken, even if your sentences are not smooth, even if you stumble while speaking, your effort itself earns respect. People don't remember those who stayed quiet, but they remember the ones who had the courage to speak, to try, to keep going, despite their imperfections. Think about any moment when you saw someone speaking in a language that was not their own. Maybe they made mistakes. Maybe their accent was heavy, but did you laugh at them? Most likely, you respected them. You admired their bravery for trying to communicate in a language that is difficult for them. You saw their determination and effort, and that inspired you. That is exactly how people see you when you try. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for sincerity. They respect your courage more than your correctness. Respect is not given to those who wait for the perfect moment. It is given to those who act in the imperfect moment. When you try, you show strength. When you stay silent, you show fear. People admire strength, even when it comes with flaws. This is why someone who speaks confidently, even with mistakes, is respected more than someone who knows perfect grammar but never dares to open their mouth. Your effort shows the world that you are willing to grow, that you are willing to face challenges, and that is what earns admiration. Another powerful truth is that trying creates connection. When you try to speak English, even if your words are not perfect, people see your heart. They see that you are making an effort to communicate with them, to reach across barriers, to connect. That effort builds respect because it shows that you care. Language is not just about words, it is about human connection, and every attempt you make, no matter how broken, carries meaning. People respect honesty, effort, and courage far more than flawless grammar. Think about successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and world figures who learned English as a second language. Many of them still make grammar mistakes when they speak. Their accents are strong, their sentences sometimes broken, but they speak with conviction, and the world listens to them. Why? Because respect doesn't come from technical correctness. It comes from confidence, from effort, from authenticity. Their mistakes don't erase their message, and in fact, their courage to speak despite those mistakes makes their message even more powerful. What stops many learners is the fear of losing respect. They imagine people laughing, judging, or ignoring them. But here's the irony. You don't lose respect by making mistakes. You lose respect by not trying at all. When people see you stay silent, they don't think you are perfect. They think you are afraid. Fear doesn't inspire anyone, but courage always does. Even if someone does laugh at your mistake, it doesn't diminish your worth. It only reveals their immaturity. The truth is, the majority of people will admire you for trying, and the few who don't are not worth your attention. Respect is also built through consistency. If you try once and stop, people may forget. But if you keep showing up, keep speaking, keep improving, they will begin to notice your growth. They will see your journey, and they will respect the determination behind it. Every small step forward earns you more respect, not only from others, but also from yourself. When you try, you build self-respect, and that is the most powerful kind of respect. You begin to believe in yourself, and that belief radiates outward, making others believe in you too. And remember, respect is not only about how others see you, it is also about how you see yourself. When you try, even with mistakes, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You look at yourself in the mirror and know that you had the courage to face your fear. That inner respect is what gives you the strength to keep going. Without trying, you may protect yourself from embarrassment, but you also rob yourself of growth. With trying, you may face challenges, but you also gain confidence, courage, and respect that no one can take away from you. So whenever you feel afraid of speaking English because you think others won't respect you, remind yourself of this truth. Respect doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from trying. The very act of opening your mouth, of pushing past fear, of daring to speak, that is what earns admiration. People respect those who move forward despite their imperfections, because that is the definition of strength. And strength will always be respected more than silence. There is one truth that every English learner must remember. Your voice matters, and your voice deserves to be heard. Too many people silence themselves because they believe their English is not good enough, their accent is not clear enough, or their grammar is not correct enough. They convince themselves that until they reach a certain level of perfection, they should remain quiet. But by staying quiet, they deny themselves the very opportunity that would make them better. Your voice is not something to be hidden, it is something to be shared. Every idea, every story, every dream you carry inside becomes powerful only when it is spoken out loud. If you lock it away out of fear, the world will never hear it, and you will never realize the impact your words could have created. When you speak, you are not just practicing English, you are expressing your identity, your thoughts, your experiences. Nobody else has lived your life, nobody else has your unique perspective, and nobody else can say what you have to say. Even if your English is not perfect, your message is valuable. Imagine if someone with brilliant ideas decided to stay silent just because their grammar wasn't perfect. The world would lose so much wisdom, creativity, and inspiration. Do not let that happen to you. The world doesn't need flawless sentences. It needs authentic voices, and your voice is one of them. Your voice also carries power because it represents courage. Every time you speak English, you are proving to yourself and to others that you are brave enough to step outside your comfort zone. That courage inspires people more than perfection ever could. When someone hears you speaking, even with mistakes, they don't just hear your words, they feel your determination. They recognize that you are fighting against fear, and that inspires respect. By speaking, you show others that it is possible, and you give them permission to be brave too. Your voice is not just for you. It can ignite courage in someone else who is listening, someone who might be afraid just like you. Another reason your voice deserves to be heard is because silence often creates regret. Think about all the times you wanted to speak but didn't. Maybe you wanted to answer a question in class, share your opinion in a meeting, or join a conversation with friends. You knew you had something to say, but fear held you back, and afterward, you felt regret. That regret stays longer than the embarrassment of making a mistake. Embarrassment fades, but regret lasts. By speaking, even if you stumble, you avoid regret. You give yourself the chance to grow, and that chance is worth far more than the comfort of staying silent. Your voice is also a bridge to opportunities. Every time you speak English, you are opening doors. You might connect with someone who later becomes a friend, a mentor, or a partner. You might share an idea that impresses someone and leads to a new chance in your career. You might tell a story that touches someone's heart and builds a lifelong connection. None of these things can happen if you stay silent. Opportunities don't come only to those who speak perfectly. They come to those who speak bravely, and you will never know what opportunities are waiting for you until you let your voice out. Don't forget that even native speakers have different accents, different speeds, different styles of speaking. There is no single perfect way to use your voice in English. What matters most is that you use it. Your accent is part of your identity. It shows where you come from. It tells your story. You don't need to erase it to be respected. People don't respect you because you sound like someone else. They respect you because you are authentic. Your voice, with its uniqueness, deserves to be heard exactly as it is. And here's the most important part. Your voice is a reflection of your inner belief. When you speak, you are telling yourself, I am worthy, my thoughts matter, my presence matters. The more you use your voice, the stronger that belief becomes. Silence, on the other hand, slowly weakens your confidence. If you stay quiet too often, you start believing that your thoughts are not valuable, that your words don't matter. But that is not true. The truth is that your words carry weight, your ideas carry meaning, and your presence carries power. You only need to let them out. So don't wait for the day when your English is perfect, because perfection is not the requirement for being heard. Courage is. Your voice, even with mistakes, even with pauses, even with broken sentences, is still worthy of attention. Every time you speak, you are telling the world, I am here, I have something to share, and I deserve to be heard. And that belief will not only change how others see you, it will change how you see yourself. So, my friend, remember this. Fluency is not some distant dream waiting for a perfect day. It is built step by step, with courage, with mistakes, with confidence. You already hold the key inside you. Don't let fear silence your voice. Don't let perfection delay your progress, and don't let doubt steal your opportunity. Speak, even if your words are broken. Speak, even if your sentences are not perfect. Speak, because every time you do, you are becoming stronger, braver, and more fluent. The world does not need flawless grammar. The world needs your voice, your ideas, your story, and your voice deserves to be heard. So go out there, open your mouth, and speak without fear, because the secret is no longer hidden. The secret is you.